So we're in the cage ladder macro from GRAITEC, and we're just going to take a look at some options we introduced for enabling you to split the ladder style and the cage straps. So coming to the ladder page, we can see the split tab here. The options available to you are obviously no split, which is the default, and then you have by max distance and by runs. So if enabling the max distance method from the drop down, we can now see that the max distance field becomes active below. Entering a measurement within this field will introduce a split into the main ladder style elements. So if we check here, we can see obviously both styles have been split up to the designated level in the ladder. And just to clarify, that will actually repeat up the ladder body at this distance. If you wish to change to a different method, the by run method, for example, here, changing in the drop-down box, this will disable the max distance and then enable the split table below. If we come down to run number 10 here and enable the split checkbox, here this will introduce a split at that run location within the ladder. So again, just take a quick look here. If I just zoom in slightly, you can see that the ladder style is split directly either side of the run itself. If you wish to offset from that nominal position, if you enter a figure in the offset cell, this will actually change the location of the split relative to the run position locally. The relative distance is actually shown within the last column here, and this is an information field to the user. The other element that we need to obviously consider is that the splitting of the style needs to work in conjunction with our exit options. So you can see within the ladder that we have a loop over arrangement set here, and we have an exit detail page here. If we use the merge style option, this will actually merge the main style elements into one continuous segment. Without the split in it, it would be the whole ladder style itself, but you can see here that it still maintains the integrity of the split location. If I move across to the cage elements, you can see a similar tab has been introduced here to split the vertical strap elements here. You have the same kind of option here by max distance, and selecting that will enable the max distance field below. Again, if you type in a value within this cell, the vertical strap elements within the cage are split at that position. You can see here. If I change to the by hoop method, we're now going to work locally at the hoop location. Again, selecting the check mark here in the split box will enable you to split via the hoop location itself. So that's split on the central point of the hoop. If you wish to offset that, you can type in a figure here. So if I just want to move it to the top of the hoop element itself, I can do that with a positive figure. Obviously, if I wish to go below that position, I can place a negative figure and it will go below. And even though I'm at a particular level, if I wish to go away from the hoop location itself and have the split within the span distance between the two hoops, again, I can adjust the measurement to move the split up within the overall body distance. So that's the two methods that we have for splitting the ladder styles and the cage straps within the cage ladder macro. So in the cage ladder macro from GRAITEC, and we're just going to take a look at some new options that have been added in, and in particular in this session we're going to focus on what we're terming the welds tab. This is new for this version. You can see here it says welds style exit, splayed exit, weld style exit, loop over. So currently at the moment you'll see that the lower panel is grayed out and the upper panel is active. That is because I just have a straightforward splayed exit. So obviously I'm under the ladder exit. I've come to the exit details here, and you can see that I've got mitre set here, so that's a mitre joint in this area here, and we've got a single weld there and a single weld there. Obviously, if we change this to the bent type here, you can see that the weld arrangements change within those zones. Now, similarly, obviously that affects what's going on in here as well. So just to change a weld size, just to show you that it is changing. So if we change that to 6mm, just come out of the dialog a second and just check in there for the weld properties itself, we can see that that has been transferred across into there. So let's just return to the main joint itself. Now, obviously there's options as well. The welds will disable if we enable the merge option under the exit. So let's come back to the exit details. And if we merge this together, so we're going to merge all the style into one, we can now see that everything is deactive in this zone here. Let's just uncheck that again, and obviously the welds will become active again. If we come back to the general tab here, this is where you set the type of exit. Now originally I set it to the splayed type, so I'm just going to do the loop over arrangement. So changing that obviously adds in some additional elements. If we then change to this tab here, we can now see that this panel is now active down here. This was in the previous versions. So we can see it's set to the mitre joint, and under here now you can see that the lower panel is active itself as well. So let's just change that weld size in there and apply that. And obviously we're using it as a shop location. Just close the dialog, and I'm just going to go in and check the weld element there and bring up its properties. So we can see obviously the 6mm weld has been applied obviously at the junction between these elements here, which is a mitre cut. So staying focused on the loop over area, we'll return to the main joint box, and within this we have a couple of other different arrangements, let's say, for the loop over corners. So again, just coming to the exit details, and if we change to the bent type, we'll see that a curved end element is here, so a separate segment is placed in here, and now we have 4 welds within that zone, and they are still controlled within this feature here, so under the loop over element down there. Just coming back to the exit details and just changing to the butt type, and we will now have a singular weld which is on the style, and obviously again it's being controlled in here. You can see the weld detail there, and obviously on the top. So we're just going to change the butt orientation there, so it changes how the members are arranged, and the weld is still being controlled here. So that should cover off all the different details of that. And obviously, just to remind you that this functionality is working with the merge feature of the style. So with that, the style has been merged together, and obviously the cut elements are still up here. And now you can see this panel is grayed out for the main style welds, but the loop over one is active. Welcome to this session on the PowerPack for Advanced Steel, and we're going to be talking about balanced stairs and stringer profiles. So currently I have a balanced stairs 2-flight L-shaped created using some basic input geometry, and you can still see I have the dialog open here. I'm just going to browse down into the stringer page, and presently the stringer is formed using a profile plate. So as of this version, we can actually now change this to be a section profile. So that's a predefined section shape. Checking the box there enables you access to the database of profiles available. So I'm just scrolling through the system here to find a particular type of channel profile. As you can see, there's quite a few different ones in here. So I'm going to pick this one here, and that will change the initial profile shape, and then I'm going to pick a particular suitable size for the channel to change that again. And at the moment we're working on the outside stringer, and we can make identical stringers for the inner version as well, so you won't need to enter under that tab. You just check this box here and the section size and other parameters are transferred across. The positioning is controlled via this tab and this drop down here. So you have top, center and bottom. So obviously just changing to bottom to show the drastic difference. You'll see that the stringer depth moves up because of the overall depth of the stringer. If you set that value to 0, it'll move up slightly more because it's being measured from the heel part of the stair. I'm just going to put that back to top, and you'll see the reversed field is also now available. So typing 0 in there will actually move that back and align the nosing of the stair with the outside edge of the stringer. So let's just put a little offset in there so we have something available. The next tab is features. So down here we have at the base of the stair we have options under here, and this is working also with the section profiles, in this case the channel. So you can see that I've applied that down there, and obviously that is replicated on the inner as well. The other element we just need to have a look at is the corner editing. You have three options: mitre, first and second profile. Default option is mitre, and I'm just going to change that there to first, and you'll see that the profile arrangement changed there in the corner. Second profile will make the second stringer profile past the first one, and obviously let's just put it back to mitre in the corner there. And just to confirm that these changes are available and working with different types of treads that we have available within the balanced staircase arrangement. So there you can see that we've created a two-flight balanced stair using a channel stringer profile. So welcome to this session, and we're just going to be taking a look at the improvements we've made to the lap joint so that it will work in the context of a cage ladder, and in particular within the cage itself. So we introduced the ability to split the cage straps here, and you can see that obviously has been interacted already here, and under the strap we have the two straps there, and we have the split set to the offset. Now you'll notice that in the cage we also have the hoop to strap set to being bolted, but at this level where we have the split, that interaction is actually turned off, and that is because we introduced this option here to disable the bolt within the cage macro itself, so you can add a lap joint at that particular location. So if I come to the lap joint detail itself, you also notice some changes in here as well. In the selection of the elements, we still have the two original ones, but now you have the option for the third element, in this case that being the hoop. You can skip it and still use this in the context of a railing. So with that, it will place the lap joint detail, and straight away we can come in and we can see the connection definition here, the plate definition, etc. So let's just go to here, change to side 2, and it will come in with the default that is in the system, but you are enabled to change that to what you wish. So I'm just going to change that to be a more sensible bolt type. And then I'm going to come here. Now this is another change we've added in. Obviously you can see a tab that says spacer plate, and that is this particular element here. Now at the moment that's been automatically derived when you select create spacer plate, which you'll find is checked because you selected the hoop element. And the thickness is set relative to the hoop strap size, but you can come in and activate the field and change it if you wish to. I'm just going to put it back relative to hoop. And then the similar with the actual size of the plate, it's automatically created based upon the cross-sectional, intersectional areas of the various elements here. So you can just leave it to automatic, but if you wish to change to a specific value, you can change that in the combo there, and these two fields become active. If you wish to change to projections, obviously you can see the change straight away in there. You can arrive back at the same figure by typing 0 in the relative field. You can make it slightly less if you so wish, and also you can uncheck the field to see all those individual projection values are now active. I'm just going to put that to being back to that one. And the final option is bolt edge, which will actually work off your bolt pattern, and you can change a figure in there if you so wish. There is obviously a default value it comes with, but changing it will alter it. And again, if you wish to have a different bolt edge on a particular side, you can change that here as well. So I'm just going to put that back to automatic and see that the plate returns back to being an automatic setting. This also works with the standard tools of Advance Steel, so you can, once you've created the joint in one location, you can copy it to another location. So I'm just going to select these inputs here and place the joint at that location as well. So you could carry on and repeat that around the ladder. Also, just to point out that the lap joint is also working with the style ladder now, and I'm actually going to skip the hoop entry to actually just place an entry in there. So obviously it will come in with a configuration and arrangement, and again you would come in and change what you required in here. So again, we might want a different bolt down in here, so I'm going to put it to that one. We might want a different diameter. We probably want a slightly different distance between the bolts, and obviously you would come in and change your plate definition as well in here under this field here. So it's working exactly the same way that it did before, and you can obviously change your thickness. So there's no change in the primary operation, it's just now that we've enabled it to work within the cage ladder elements. So welcome to this session where we're going to talk about the grab rail endings, which is part of the standard railing macro within the PowerPack from Advance Steel. So if we just zoom in a bit here, obviously we can see the grab rail element, which is part of the macro, is enabled. And under here there's an ending option. And you can enable the endings via the checkbox here, and it will default to the loop type. You can see that the arrangement comes in here, and traditionally this would have the bent arrangement. So in this version we've actually redesigned this portion of the dialog to match up with how we're doing the main railing. And we did that because we wish to enable a miter option to the various segments here. So obviously group 1, and then I'm moving into group 2, which is here, and then group 3 there, which is actually the return to the post. And obviously here I can control how the grab rail is actually cut back into the post. So there it's been set to contour. Obviously you can affect the dimensions the same as in other elements we have within the macro. Using the dialog fields here, we change that and it changes the height, etc. And obviously the extension length can be changed as well if you so wish. You can make it longer or smaller, and it will obviously extend it out. So I'm just going to put it back to being 200. And the option here, so if you want to go into the start end of the tree, then obviously you can change the configuration of this if you so wish. I'm just going to put that back to horizontal, so obviously the various miter joints are available within those. The other option is to look out for is obviously the return to the rail, and in that you'll have the various groups. So group 2, which is this element here, and obviously group 3 is active in this case, is actually the return to this rail, and obviously there's the shaping it into the return element of the main railing. So obviously we've been focusing on the bottom, but the same can be seen in the top. So where I was actually in both, I was changing that as well within there as well, but you can obviously come in and change this individually at the various tree levels that you need. So all the same options are there. The final bit I suppose to talk about is actually the merge option. So if you do feel that you need to merge the rail, the merge option is available to merge the start and end elements of the grab rail. So if I'm just going to tick in there, you will see that that is now merged into one segment, and obviously that can be split up within the overall span of the railing. So some improvements there to the loop ending type, where we've introduced the mitered corners into this to match the main railing element itself, and obviously the wall rail elements. So in the PowerPack for Advance Steel, we're taking a look at our wall rail macro, and in particular we're going to start looking at our ending types. We've made some changes into how this works for the loop end arrangement. So I'm just coming into the ending type, and I'm obviously setting this for both ends of the rail. Now by default, when I change to the ending subpage, you'll see that the corner grouping here has changed in this version, and we now have an option to introduce a miter as well as a bent element. So if I change that under the group 1s, this will change on the end detail here. And then I can repeat that at the group 2 elements here. And then finally, the return segment to the wall can also now be set to a miter. Obviously the parameters in here can be adjusted if you need to. You can change the value to increase the depth, which will drop that one down. Obviously you can change the nominal length as well here, which will increase this extension value L1. And obviously if you decide you want to put it back, you can put it back there and just change it again. So the functionality remains as it was previously. The other small change that we've introduced is a gap to wall distance. So where this returns here, you can actually shorten this back slightly to give you a gap between the wall face and the end of the tube. Obviously options to merge the ending still exist within the macro, so you can merge all this together if you want to, even though it's a mitered section. So those options are still there. And if we just come to the caps, we've actually introduced the caps to the ending of the rail as well. So activating the caps, you have a choice between a plate and a special part, and obviously you can affect the thickness of the cap plate there. Obviously you can adjust it to be projecting beyond or slightly reduced, and control the weld size. And obviously you've seen me applying that to the main start end here. So if we go to the other end, we can do exactly the same thing. And obviously you can do this at the top level of the tree operation. So in this case, we've only got two options because we don't have the third section here, so we don't have the extra extension part onto the group 2. So it's just these two options that are available. And obviously you can see that the cap plate is present in there as well because I did it at the top level. So that's a couple of changes that we've made within the version to the loop ending type.